In 1981, astronomers began plotting the locations of galaxies onto a growing map of the universe. Point after point appeared where it should. Clusters formed, patterns emerged. The map seemed to be filling in exactly as expected. Then, a strange gap started to appear. At first, it looked temporary. A blank patch on a chart is often a sign that observations are incomplete. More data usually fixes the problem, but the empty region remained.
Becoming harder to dismiss
as additional observations were added, galaxies continued appearing around it, while the gap itself refused to fill. The map was becoming more complete, yet a vast section still looked almost abandoned. That created a problem larger than the emptiness itself. The easiest explanation was not that the universe contained such a region. The easiest explanation was that something was wrong with the observations. Perhaps data was missing. Perhaps the survey had overlooked part of the sky. Perhaps the map could not be trusted. A trusted picture of the universe now contained a hole large enough to make the picture seem suspect. And if the map was not wrong, then something far harder to explain was sitting inside it. The empty region should have started disappearing. That was the expectation. As new surveys expanded across the same area, more galaxies were added to the map. Points appeared where none had been recorded before. Sections that once looked incomplete became clearer and more detailed. But the gap remained. Researchers returned to the region again and again. Each new survey was supposed to make the gap smaller. Instead, the surrounding map filled in, while the emptiness survived. Confidence was increasing everywhere, except inside the void. That changed the nature of the problem. If the gap was a mistake, better observations should have erased it. Instead, better observations kept confirming it. Every successful survey removed another reason to doubt the emptiness. The safe explanation slowly began to fail. What first looked like an unfinished chart was surviving repeated attempts to finish it. What looked like a temporary absence was behaving like a permanent feature. The pressure shifted from the observations to the assumption behind them.
These are the isolated
The map was no longer the most suspicious thing in the room. The empty region was, and with every successful survey, it became harder to argue that galaxies had simply not been found there yet. The absence itself was starting to look real, which created a far more difficult problem. If this region truly existed, what could leave such an enormous volume with almost nothing inside it? The discovery should have remained isolated. One strange empty region could still be treated as an exception, a rare feature sitting awkwardly inside an otherwise familiar universe. Then, larger surveys arrived. The maps expanded outward. More galaxies were recorded. More distant regions came into view. Areas that had never been examined in detail began filling with new data, and something unexpected started appearing. Far from the original discovery, other enormous empty regions emerged. The first void could be dismissed as unusual. The next one damaged that explanation. Then another appeared. Different locations, different surveys, the same emptiness. The emptiness was repeating. That changed the scale of the problem immediately. One void is a curiosity. Repeated voids are a pattern, and patterns are much harder to ignore. The universe was no longer showing a single enormous absence. It was demonstrating an ability to produce enormous absences over and over again. The original void stopped looking like an isolated curiosity and started looking like part of a larger pattern. What once appeared to be a rare defect in the cosmic landscape was beginning to resemble a recurring feature of it. And that raised a new question. If these vast, empty regions were not exceptions, then they were participating in the
Drifting
organization
at
of
the
the
edge of the void
universe
wall.
somehow. The challenge was no longer proving they existed. The challenge was understanding why the universe kept producing them. The more complete the maps became, the harder it was to describe the voids as simple places where galaxies were missing. Something else was becoming visible. As astronomers plotted larger and larger regions, galaxies did not appear evenly scattered across space. They gathered into long, connected structures. Dense bands stretched outward, linking one populated region to another. And between those structures sat the voids. The pattern repeated across survey after survey. Galaxies concentrated along interconnected filaments, while enormous empty regions occupied the spaces between them. The voids were not
The
random
emptiness
holes
is larger than the
punched
structure it
into an
surrounds.
otherwise uniform universe. They appeared
The hidden
alongside
framework exists
the structure
in the spaces
itself.
between objects.
That changed
The
what
architecture
astronomers were
comes
looking
from
at.
the voids.
The original interpretation was simple. Galaxies were the structure. Voids were what remained after the structure was removed. But the maps no longer behaved that way. Remove the galaxies and the filaments disappear. Remove the voids and the larger pattern becomes difficult to recognize. Neither feature made complete
The
sense
observer
without the
has
other.
focused on the wrong feature.
As the surveys expanded,
the
a new
galaxies
pattern
only outline
emerged.
the voids.
The shape
rather
of the
than
structure
define them.
depended on both what was there and what was not. The belief that voids were merely empty leftovers could no longer survive. The structure was not defined only by where matter accumulated. It was also being defined by where matter did not. The emptiness had moved from the background into the framework itself, which created a new problem.
The visible matter
If these regions
is tracing the
help
shape
define
of
the
emptiness.
structure of the universe, then a void is no longer just an empty place. So what exactly are astronomers seeing when they look into one? The largest maps reveal something that was impossible to see at the beginning. The voids are not small gaps hidden inside a universe filled with galaxies. They occupy enormous fractions of cosmic volume. As the structure comes into focus, galaxies trace long connected patterns across space, while vast, empty regions spread between them. The visible matter outlines a framework, but the shape of that framework is inseparable from the emptiness surrounding it. That changes the meaning of the original discovery completely. The first maps seem to contain a hole, a place where something should have been but was not. The final maps show something different. The emptiness was never sitting outside the
arrangement
structure.
of matter
The structure
follows the
was forming
arrangement of
around
voids.
the emptiness. The location of galaxies makes sense only when the voids are included as part of the larger architecture. The pattern is not created solely by where matter gathers. It is also created by where matter does not. The discovery began as a search for what was missing. The void was never important because it contained almost nothing. The void was important because its emptiness helped determine where everything else ended up. What first appeared to be an absence became part of the design. The discovery was never about finding nothing. It was about discovering that what looked like nothing was helping shape everything.